Having played the Resident Evil 2 remake recently, see my review on the channel, I thought it was the perfect time to replay the original and use it for the retro review. Welcome to gaming and welcome to the retro review. Capcom did an amazing job with the Resident Evil 2 remake, modernising where appropriate and bringing it up to date for a new generation. For me, the original 3 Resident Evil games are Resident Evil. Resident Evil 4, for as good as it was, it strayed away too much from what the originals made so good, and it made me love the series. That claustrophobic feel, the inventory management, and the all-round stress involved with playing a Resident Evil game. So how would I feel revisiting this game after about 20 years? Well, let's talk about the number one issue, the tank controls. Now back in the day, this must have felt normal, but my god does it feel weird now. Fortunately, after a little while, I got back into the swing of it. The next thing to discuss is just how bad the game has aged. It looks pretty grim. But I do mention this often, the PS1 library as a whole has aged pretty badly. Resident Evil 2 follows on from Resident Evil 1 a few months later, but this time it takes place mainly in the police station as Leon Kennedy meets Claire Redfield, and they attempt to survive the zombie outbreak in Raccoon City.
A bizarre incident occurred in the outskirts of an American suburb called Raccoon City. It was later revealed that the terrible disaster had been caused by the T virus, a mutagenic toxin created by the international enterprise Umbrella Incorporated for use in bioweapon experiments.
As they attempt to survive the horror, they each meet side characters along the way. Leon meets Ada Wong and Claire meets Sherry Birkin. This must have been one of the first games to utilise storytelling from 2 points of view. This is done by having 2 campaigns on separate discs. I played Leon A story first, followed by Claire B. Of course you can do Claire A then Leon B, which I believe is the canon way to do it, but I never understood why that is, because that would mean having to play the disc 2 first, which, why would anyone do that? That never made sense to me. While it was cool how they did this, it's often confusing as some puzzles are done by both characters. Surely if they're on the same path, as soon as one completes the puzzle, it should be done for the other one. This is made even more confusing by the fact that there are certain items that can be picked up during the first playthrough that affect the other character in the second playthrough. Still, this was fairly ambitious back then and quite impressive when you think about it. As Leon, you'll be hunted by William Birkin, the creator of the new G virus, who has injected himself with the virus to avoid death and protect his research. As Claire, you will face William and the Tyrant, known by fans as Mr. X. This was one thing I wanted to check out because in the remake Mr. X is mad. He follows you almost everywhere in both scenarios, but in the original he only follows Claire. I think this is because he's primarily after Sherry, who has a sample of the G virus in her necklace. But it made sense for them to ramp this up in the remake and make it more like Alien Isolation. Other things that modern gamers would struggle with in the original, beyond the tank controls that I've already mentioned, is the inventory management system. Now it's still there in the modern games, but it's a little bit easier. For me, it's a vital part of what makes Resident Evil so good, but it can be frustrating in a game when you have no idea what you've got to do next and how to move on to the next part. Back then, we had internet, but it was shite. It wasn't very helpful when it was around. Now, of course, you can find the answer to nearly any question. You can look at guides, there are videos, and they all are there to help you. As I said, the inventory system is still in the modern games, but a positive change that they made in the remake is that even if your inventory is full, when you see an item in one of the rooms, it gets marked on your map. In the original, you'd have to run back to a save room, unload your junk into the item box, break out the old pen and paper, make some notes about where the item is on the map, and then head back there to pick it up. Saving via ink ribbon is wild. Basically, there's only so many saves you can make in this game. Imagine that, a game where there is only a finite amount of times that you can save your game. So this is something else for you to manage. Now we have autosaves, and even though the typewriters are in the modern Resident Evil games, you don't really need to bother with them. In the original, you needed to know exactly where the save rooms were, because if you got caught out, you'd be playing long segments again. I could talk about how silly the magic inventory boxes are, but it's one of those, well, it's a video game things, and it doesn't really have to make sense. The voice acting is, well, just Resident Evil, isn't it? I don't know what happened with these original games, but the voice acting's so funny. But it's part of the charm of the game.
It's good to see you're still among the living. It looks like we're not gonna find your brother here after all.
Like in all Resident Evil games, the end features a self-destruction sequence and a race to the finish. Once you've dealt with the final form of Mr. Birkin, it's a mad dash to the finish line. Another cool aspect to the two-scenario system is you only get to the real ending once you've completed both scenarios, something that they lovingly kept in the remake. So, should you go back and play Resident Evil 2? It depends, really. I've had such a blast playing through the remake and the original, and once you get those funny little things back into your memory, like the tank controls, you'll start loving it all over again. I think for somebody who's never played the series before, the original series, they might find it tough and it might be a bit difficult getting into these older games. But with the remake out, you have the perfect excuse to avoid the original, but still play through an impressive story. So I'm going to mark this one as go and play if you did back then. If you played the original back in '98, maybe have one last journey with Leon and with Claire. Thanks for watching, and please do subscribe to the channel for more retro reviews. We'll see you in the next one.